Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So again, this one is not going to be long. It's almost like this is a public service announcement, more like updates. First, let me make sure my mic is doing what it's supposed to do before getting too far into this. And yes, good, perfect. And I'm seeing green all around, so I'm going to take it as everything as it go. So coming up tomorrow at 5 p.m., Lee Carter is going to be here. Lee Carter is Democratic Socialists of America candidate that got elected in Fairfax. And he got elected without much help from the Democratic Party. I don't know if he got any help at all. But he was able to win his seat, and he has been fighting for his constituents. Even though they've been mocking him to some degree, holding up signs of like this kind of Soviet symbols and whatnot. The guy is a Democratic Socialist. He's not a Soviet, as far as I know. But that being said, he's not a communist. That being said, he's working for his constituent. And the thing that they mocked him on was because he was fighting for his constituents. So he is going to be here tomorrow at 5 p.m. We're going to have a conversation that should be damn awesome. I saw this bit of information, and I thought I'd give it as a public service announcement. You have a spy. There is a little digital spy that's paying attention to your phone calls and paying attention to your text messages. That little digital spy is Facebook. Now, Facebook has admitted to downloading or keeping track of Android users' phone calls and text messages. Now, they try to use the excuse of, well, I mean, that's an option that people could turn off, but the truth of it is, it's a default setting, meaning by default, it is on. Meaning, unless you explicitly knew that it was there or you explicitly went looking for it, it has been downloading your text messages and your phone calls. Just a heads up. Let's take a look at the story itself. And like I said, this one is not going to be long. It's a public service announcement more than anything else. Facebook acknowledges it has been keeping records of Android users' calls and texts. On the same day that the state of Illinois sued Facebook over its alleged misuse of data that allowed Cambridge Analytica to download information on more than 50 million users, Facebook confirmed that it had been collecting and storing call logs and text messages and metadata for millions of Android users. Now, here's the thing. You can't have it both ways. Like, this feels to me like, me think the lady protests too much. Donald Trump gets elected. Now, Donald Trump uses Cambridge Analytica, fair enough, and they use data in a way that I guess Facebook hadn't intended it being used, fair enough, and 50 million users get their information taken, fair enough. Now, when Donald Trump uses this and gets elected, it is a horrible thing, and that people need to be called to account, and people need to be called before Congress, etc., etc. When Obama uses similar techniques, it's looked at as, it's lauded as this innovation in digital or micro advertising, or innovation in micro analytics, getting to these people who, for the most part, are not necessarily part of the political system itself. Obama was able to reach all of these people, and the question is, how was Obama able to reach and micro target these people? Fact is, what Donald Trump did, or what Cambridge Analytica did, was just the extension of what Obama did. So you can understand when I look at this and I hear people bitch and moan and protest about the stuff that's going on with Cambridge Analytica, I ask myself, well, wait a minute. Why weren't you guys bitching and complaining when Obama did this? You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Either it was a bad thing and Obama should have been slapped on the wrist in the same way that Trump or the company that he's used is being slapped on the wrist, or it was this innovation in politics. In both cases, you cannot have it both ways. If Obama did something similar to get elected, you can't turn around and say it's horrible and it's god-awful that Trump did something similar. It is expected or it's suspected that Facebook knew the way that Obama's campaign was using this information, but they were on their side, so they allowed them to use that information. But Donald Trump is not on their side, so they don't like it. They don't like that. And beyond that, you have a lot of people who hate Trump, and they don't want their information used in a way that assists Trump getting elected. So people protest and scream and bitch and moan about the Cambridge Analytica thing. Okay, whatever. Thing is, though, the phone calls and the text messages seem like a bigger deal to me. Why on earth is Facebook downloading and keeping track of people's information? Now, let's take a look at Facebook's explanation of this. Last week, and by the way, as someone who's in software, we usually prefer to have more information than less. As a standard and as a rule, we prefer to have more information than less. It's not so much that people are continuously looking at the information, but we do like this idea of being able to look at the information and find certain trends and certain data points that we can use to either sell you something or connect you to something else. Meaning, we can be using this data in order to connect you to something that we think you may want to see, or we can be using this data to sell something. However we're using the data, we like having our hands on more data, not necessarily less. So this doesn't shock me in the least that they may be doing this. The question is, should they do this? Should they do it? That's a different question. Are people okay with them doing this? That is a different question. I understand the Cambridge Analytica thing. Fair enough. People are pissed off about it. As a public service announcement, if you're an Android user, you may want to check to see if Facebook is recording your information in the way that it's been recording people's information here. So let's finish the article. This is not a long article. Last week, one user who downloaded his data to learn that what Facebook knew about him in the aftermath of the Cambridge Analytica scandal found that the company had a record of the date, time, duration, and the recipient of calls he had made for the past few years. On Saturday, the tech news site Ars Technica published an account of several others, all Android users, who found similar records. In response, Facebook published a post Sunday denying that it ever logged call or text history without a user's permission, but it did acknowledge that it was collecting and storing these logs, attributing it to an opt-in feature for those using Messenger or Facebook Lite on an Android device. This helps you find and stay connected with the people you care about and provides you with a better experience across Facebook, the company said in a post. People have to expressly agree to use this feature. We introduced this feature for Android users a couple years ago. Contact importers are fairly common among social apps and services as a way to more easily find the people you want to connect with. I understand that, but that's different than you downloading the person's call, their time, who the person was, and all this other stuff. You keeping track of the person's call logs. It's a little bit different than you keeping in track with their contacts. Understand what I mean? If I am saying, yes, I am okay with importing my contacts because I want these contacts to be available on some other platform, fair enough. That is different than you keeping track of my phone logs and my text message logs. Come on, there's a difference in those things. There's a massive difference in those things. Let's keep going. Ars Technica refuted their claims that everyone knowingly opted in. Instead, Ars Technica Sean Gallagher claimed that opt-in was the default setting and users were not separately alerted to it. Nor did Facebook ever say publicly that it was collecting the information. Facebook says that the company keeps this data secure and does not sell it to a third party, Gallagher wrote. But the post doesn't address why it would be necessary to retain not just the numbers of the contacts from the phone calls and SMS messages, but the date, time, and length of callers for years. On Monday, in response to the Cambridge Analytica scandal, the Federal Trade Commission announced it was launching a probe into Facebook's privacy practices. What is Facebook doing with this information? And do you honestly believe that Facebook is not selling this information, or Facebook would not sell this information in the future? Or that Facebook wouldn't make this information available to some kind of government agency? Now, I throw that in there because we found out, I think it was this year, a month or so ago, at least I found out a month or so ago, that Geek Squad at Best Buy has had a relationship with the FBI going back for nearly a decade, in which case the Geek Squad members will look through people's computer to find anything that was illegal that they can sell to the FBI in order to incriminate the person. Now, they're getting paid twice on this. The person who gives them their computer is paying them, in addition to the FBI, if they find something on that person who gave them that computer, that also paid them. Meaning they're getting paid on two accounts. They're getting paid to snitch on American citizens who give their computer over to get some kind of update or some kind of virus scan or whatever, some kind of fix. This is not a case that they stumbled across either child porn or stumbled across something illegal accidentally. What they found was that people in Geek Squad was actively searching through people's computer in order to find something because there was a monetary incentive built into it at that point. Meaning if the FBI is paying Geek Squad to find information, then Geek Squad is going to look for and try to find information. Why do we believe that the same thing wouldn't necessarily be true for Facebook? They're keeping people's phone messages and text messages. Why on earth would anybody trust Facebook to keep this information private when they had 50 million users' information that was sprawled across the Cambridge Analytica? I'm sorry, you can't trust these companies. You cannot trust these companies. Let's see. They have an old flip phone with no camera, etc. Let's see. Recycled hemp paper will provide solutions to a return to analog. I don't know what that one means, Garden. Brianna Wilson. What aren't they using to spy on us at this point? Well, at this point, people are essentially giving their information over. I mean, it's one thing when, you know, they had to have somebody with a listening device sitting on the other end of the door or on the other end of the building. In this case, people just give over their information willingly, whether you want to talk about phone records or whether you want to talk about the computer itself when you're taking it to some company to fix. I mean, just put you in the mind of this kind of Stasi state where you don't necessarily know who's whispering to somebody else in order to get you in trouble. It's fucking amazing. The Geek Squad thing by itself was amazing. I mean, these guys are literally going through people's computer as an arm of the FBI in order to find stuff on that person so they can get paid by the FBI once they turn that person in. It's fucking gross. Absolutely gross. These kinds of actions de-incentivize people from using electronic communications. Agreed. People could very well limit their use as a result. What I would say is I'm probably deleting my Facebook thing off of my thing. Because here's the thing. Even if you click that button, that button that's set to default, that automatically keeps track of your information, that Facebook keeps track of your information with, how do you know they're still not keeping your data? How do you know? Do you trust Facebook in this case not to either sell your data or for that button to do what that button says it's going to do? Ultimately, you just have this little check that you're assuming that check is doing what it says it's going to do. Yes, I'm somewhat cynical in this process. I think if there's a buck to be made, a private corporation is going to do their best to make a buck. If that means selling your information, if that means selling you out to the FBI, they're going to sell your information, they're going to sell you out to the FBI. And they're going to say to themselves, well, that person was doing something illegal, so it makes it okay. It makes it okay. The spying is okay. Good dude. Get rid of Facebook. Yeah. Using it on the computer is enough. That's really gross. The idea that they're keeping track of your communications in that way. That's absolutely gross. So again, this one is not going to be long. This public service announcement more than anything else. I have one more public service announcement about Geek Squad, which is the one that I kind of just gave. Yeah, I'm going to end it here because this one wasn't meant to be long. So, all right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, everyone.